Hey, how you doing guys? Welcome back to HPC Tech. This time I'm going to show you how to check a leak in the air conditioning system. Alright? But before we do that, we're gonna cover some information first. We have types of the leak. We're gonna talk about the types of different leaks. We also have to have basic leak detection, and we also have advanced leak detection. Different ways you can actually find a leak, and how to repair a leak, and also we're going to have to cover some of these tools. Right? We got different types of tools we can use. Some of this equipment, it's good to use. Some of the equipment is not really good. So, all right. So come on forward. And first, we're going to cover a little bit of the tools. You need to have a nitrogen tank with a pressure regulator. Okay, as you guys can see, this tank it comes with a pressure of 2,500 psig. Let me open the valve just to show you. It's all the way open, and it's showing me 2,500. So this is a lot of pressure inside this tank. Whenever you use this type of tank, make sure you have to have a pressure regulator. Please do not open the tank without having a pressure regulator. Once you attach the pressure regulator, this what it's going to do is hold back the pressure, and then you can regulate how much pressure is going to send into the port for the gauges. Okay, how you can actually do that? Well, by turning this regulator screw, and by the way, clockwise is to increase the pressure, counterclockwise is to increase the pressure. Okay, as you guys can see, there's nothing coming out of here. So let me just show you what happens once you go clockwise, very slowly. You hear that? So now it will start coming out, nitrogen will start coming out of this connection. Okay? So right now we don't want to do that, but just to show you how this regulator works. Alright? The next tool you're going to use, it's a leak detector. It looks like a simple soap and bubbles, but this is especially designed to find the leaks, and yeah, you make sure you get the right tools for the right job. Right? We're also going to be using a leak detector. It's an old leak detector, but it works good for R22 and 410A. Okay? You're also going to be using a mirror, and of course, you're also going to be using your gauges. Make sure you have your gauges, your yellow holes for the surface, for the high pressure, from the low pressure. Cool? All right. So this is your basic tools you guys are going to be using to find the leak, and well, let's start showing you some of this stuff, right? The next thing I'm supposed to be talking, it's about the types of the leak. Okay, some of these leaks on these systems are really easy to find. Sometimes it happens the customer pretty much damage either the leak line or the suction line. I have some service calls where the customer was working on the yard, and with the shovel, they actually hit this line or hit this line, and then all the refrigerant is gone, and then the customer calls you that there's a problem with the air conditioning. That's an easy find a leak into a system. Why? Because the customer is going to say, well, I was working in the yard, I hit something, and then I saw all this gas coming out of the lines. And then, they're going to show you where that happens, and then you're going to find out this line to be broken, and that's going to be easy to find a leak because you're visually checking for that leak. Alright? Sometimes, all the different service calls, there will be oil spots. Sometimes you will find oil spots around the condenser outside. Sometimes the oil will be between the copper pipe and the insulation right here. You're going to see a lot of oil. Once you see that oil right there, then you know that it's leaking the suction line. So that's another one. Anywhere you see oil, there's probably a leak in the system. If you guys remember, there's only two things running through the whole system. It will be refrigerant and oil. And once you have a leak somewhere, the oil will start to come out. Okay? And the other basic, trying to find the leak is by just to listen. Sometimes you gotta just get close into the lines, and you're gonna hear that hissing, and then you know, okay, well, the leak is right there. Okay, it also depends how big is the leak. If the leak is small, very, very small, you're not going to be able to hear it. But if the leak is, you know, let's say about an eighth to 1 inch, that's going to make a lot of noise. You know, it's going to be hissing, so you're going to find the leak right away. Okay. Well, those are the basic process to find leaks. The ones are more difficult are the ones are very, very small. We're talking about maybe half of 1/32, and even smaller than that. There's some leaks that is called a micro leak. A micro leak, it could be just maybe about 1 ounce per year. So that's the very, very, very small leak, right? So let me show you the advanced way to find the leak. The way we can do this is by adding nitrogen to the system. Okay, so I'm gonna hit the gauges right here, and what we're gonna do is connect my high pressure hose and my low pressure hose into the air conditioning system. Make sure this thing doesn't move around. You can set it up right here. There we go. That's good enough. And then let's connect my low side into the low side of the system. And the high side into the high side system. Just like that. And by the way, whenever you're trying to do this advanced leak search, which by the way we use in nitrogen, you cannot have freon inside the system. You have to recover all the freon from the system. You don't have to do a vacuum. You don't need that. But you need to recover the freon that's in the system. You cannot add freon on top, you cannot add nitrogen on top of the freon. That's pretty much illegal by the EPA. So, as you guys can see, on the gauges, the system is empty. So there's no freon at all. 0 PSIG, 0 PSSG. The valves are closed. And now let's follow the yellow hose and connect it into the regulator of the nitrogen tank. Just like that. Make sure everything is tight. Make sure everything this is tight. Make sure it was that. Now, remember, before you open the main valve of the tank, you got to make sure that this is loose. And how can I make sure it's loose? Well, you can move with your fingers. See that? It's very, very loose. All right. By the way, it has to be counterclockwise. All right. That's before you open the valve. Now, let's open the valve and let's add some pressure. This is the pressure in the tank, and this is the pressure is going to be coming out of this hose. Let's go in clockwise and take a look. See that? The pressure start to increase. All right. Let's bring it to somewhere around 200 and no more than that. That's the pressure that you put into the gauge. All right. Now, when this pressure comes out of here and it's going to the gauges, we're only going to set this pressure on the condenser up to 150 psig, no more than that. You can leave it at 200, that's it, no more. You can go less if you want to, but that's fine. 200 is good. All right. Now, once you set the regulator to 200, follow the gauges. And it goes into these gauges. As you guys can see, it's 0, 0. Why is it the nitrogen is not coming to the system? Because I haven't opened the gauges yet, the valves on the gauges. So let's open them. Ready? And watch what happens. And listen also. Now what you're going to do is going to monitor. You can actually use the high side to monitor, make sure the pressure doesn't go more than 150. Sometimes what you can do is just close both of the gauges to see where the pressure is. And it's about 75. We need more. Remember, we need to bring the system all the way to 150. This looks about 150. Close it again. More. Close it again. And right there. You gotta make sure you close the high side, make sure you close the low side. And now, Remember we bring the pressure over to 200. My high side pressure on the tank is 2000 psi, no problem. 200 setup. What you're gonna have to do is counterclockwise, just to make sure to release the pressure from the regulator, and also you're gonna make sure you close the valve, the main valve of the tank. Once you counterclockwise this regulator, there should be no more pressure coming out, maybe a little bit of nitrogen, and now you can take up the hose, just like that. And we don't need that no more. We're only going to be using this, and we set the pressure to 150, and this one don't bother because this one goes all the way to 120. So we just set it to 150. Okay? Now, this is where you can actually wait, maybe give it about 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, and you want to see if this gauge or this one is going to start to going back to zero, because remember, we started zero. And so far, it looks like it's moving a little bit. Once you see that the gauge is losing the pressure, then you can use, or you can actually use the soap bubble, the big blue, and start to look for leaks. Let me put this back here. Now this is the one you have to use. Remember, we only put nitrogen into the system, so you cannot use leak detector. You have to use the soap bubble solution. Okay? So what you're gonna do is to start applying the big glue into the areas where you have connections. And if you get closer here, I'm gonna start from here, right on the connection of the TXV. This is the TXV valve, and there's actually some type like a union connection, compression fitting. But I'm gonna start doing right here and applying. Oh, and look at that. I actually find the leak right away. And by the way, you know that this is not gonna happen in the field that easy. I'm just to show you what happens once you do that apply the nitrogen, and you get the solution, and look at that bubble. And that's a leak. That's how you find leaks. Okay? In this case, we have two connections that are loose. You can actually time using wrenches. And then also, by using a mirror, sometimes this leak is a big leak, so you can see all these bubbles. Sometimes the leak is very, very small, and the leak maybe is not here, maybe it's behind it. So you can use a mirror to see behind it, to see if it's leaking behind the pipe. Any areas that is difficult to find, you can use the mirror. Also, if you guys give me a second, you can actually use a flashlight, which somewhere, we left it somewhere, but anyways. I said on the PowerPoint, make sure you guys use a flashlight, but there you go. This is an example here. So you can actually use the mirror. You can put some bubbles, go behind it. Oh, yeah, there's no leak over there. Everything looks good. And this is the purpose of using the mirror. Cool? Now, let's repair the leak. In this case, the leak is easy to repair. You don't have to brace anything. You gotta use just two adjustable wrenches and tighten the connection. It's gonna take a little bit of work, but we can do it. There you go. Now, you can just clean it a little bit, make sure there's no more bubbles, and then you can apply again the big blue solution, and there you go. We just fixed the leak. Sometimes some of the leaks require, for example, this right here, you can see right here, there was a leak in this pipe. They brace it, so they kind of brace the pipe. It looks like there was a leak. Sometimes you gotta do that. But of course, before you do this, or any bracing, you gotta make sure you release the nitrogen. Since we didn't have to do any bracing, I had to tie the connection. Now we're done, or if you want, you can search some other places. You can search somewhere here, by the suction line by the connection, another here by the valves. Remember not to use this on the service valves core connection, because if you use this, it might go inside the system. We don't want water going inside the system. Cool? Now we're done. Now the question is, okay, oh, by the way, get close. Look at what happened to pressure. Remember, we add all the way to 150, and my high side went down to, looks like about 135 or 130. So that definitely we had a leak. No more leak, it's gone. Okay? Now, since we found the leak, everything's cool. What should I do next? Grab your yellow hose, make sure you hold it on it, don't let it go, and then you can just open your highs and low side and let the nitrogen flow. There you go. Now, remember, nitrogen, pretty much there's no damage into the ozone. Most of the air that we breathe, it's about 75% nitrogen and 25% other gases. 20% oxygen and some couple of 2-3% other gases. So since there's no problem with nitrogen, we just release it into the air with no problem. Okay? As we're releasing the nitrogen, the pressure is going down, and we're just waiting for the pressure to go into zero. Okay. Remember to open both of the valves because this is faster and easier. You can hear the noises less and less. And we're done. So we're done. Now, before you add Freon into the system, of course, you're going to have to do the vacuum. Okay? Always, all the time. So that will be a different class. But before you add Freon into the system, you have to do the vacuum and make sure there's no more leaks. And by using the micron gauge, and that's going to help you better, right? Now, the other thing, just before we end up this video, because it's taking a little bit of time, remember about leak detector? You can actually add, or before you do the recovery, you can actually use the leak detector to find leaks. And that's before you do the recovery. Because if you recover the Freon, there's no purpose of using this leak detector. They call it halogen leak detectors. So, right now, the system is empty. There's no Freon, so what's the purpose, right? Well, I'm going to show you just in a tank, a recovery tank, how is it leaking and what happens once it finds a leak. See, this is a recovery tank, and the valve is closed. Let me get the leak detector close by. Not leaking. Let me take the cap off of this one. Oh, and that's leaking. So it might be there was a little Freon trap in the cap, or it might be the valve is not closing all the way 100% and it's leaking. Still leaking. So that tells me the valve here is not 100% sealing, so that means it's going to leak in the refrigerant. Okay? So there you go. That's another way you can look for leaks using a leak detector. The best way for me is using the nitrogen and the soap. I've been finding a lot of leaks doing the nitrogen and the soap. The bad thing about that is you have to recover the Freon. If you have a leak detector like this one, you can use it before you recover the Freon. Or if you cannot find the leak with this or the nitrogen, then you can use what is called the ultraviolet dye. So there's another system where you can actually add that special ink into the system. But you have to wait 24 hours. You gotta inject that special dye into the system, and you gotta wait 24 hours. Which sometimes you don't have the time, or the customer maybe, they wanted to fix it right away. The special ink will go through the whole system. And once you gotta run 24 hours, once you go through the whole system, then you come back, let's say 2 days, whatever, or second day, first day. You're gonna use your special glasses and a special UV light, and you go all over the system. Once you see that ink coming out of the connections, then you can find the leaks. It's very awesome. I like that system too. The only problem with that kind of system is it's messy. It's if you don't do properly steps, you can actually have the ink coming out in your face, coming all over, so you gotta be careful. That's what I don't like it too much. But to find the leaks, very small leaks, with the dye system, it's the best. Okay? Alright, so there you go, guys. I hope you guys liked the video, and this is for you guys for to learn a little bit more about HVAC, and I'll see you guys later. Okay, take care.